Hello and welcome to the In the Money Players podcast, In the Money Media YouTube channel. We are here with our show for Wednesday, August 5th. Peter Thomas Fornatale back with you from Long Island, my mom's house, out in Port Washington, not far from the new Belmont. Here today to look at Saratoga on Friday for our ITM Horseplayers Tour. Got some stuff we're going to talk about before that, though. But if you've been living under a rock and you need to know about the tour, you go to horseplayers.com on a Friday, you put up 20 bucks, the house cut goes to charity, and then you got multiple ways to win a $10,000 BCBC seat. You can advance to the Saturday qualifier right there on Horseplayers, or if you finish in the top 4 of this feeder, you'll advance to a separate tournament at the end of the season where another 10K BCBC seat will be awarded at no extra cost to players. Very exciting, been great to see so many familiar names on the leaderboard lately. Hopefully we'll see your name this week. Make sure you get involved. Horseplayers.com. Matt Bernier's been doing these shows with me. We could not align schedules this week. It happens. But we have no mug coming in to take his place. We've got a man you've seen all the time on these airwaves over the past, coming on 10 years now. He's Jonathan Kinchin. What's up, JK?
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting to think about the Breeders' Cup betting challenge. I think a lot of decisions that will be made on that Saturday afternoon in October, the end of October, will hinge on what we get to see this weekend at Saratoga with some of the big races that we have on tap here at the spa.
We will have full coverage of that Saratoga Saturday. We've already got content trickling out from our friends at the Gallop Out on the In the Money Media channel. You subscribe to the channel, you don't miss any of that stuff. Nick Tamero will be with me for a deep dive on the Saturday card. JK and I will have a separate video just about the Whitney Stakes. You can check that all out. But for most of JK's opinions, you're going to want to check them out on television over there on America's Day at the Races. You doing Talking Horses Saturday in addition or anything like that?
Oh, no. I've worked that out where I get to do it every other week now, which is nice. A little bit extra work talking horses. But we're on Fox from 5 to 7, if I'm not mistaken, for the Whitney.
That is going to be a great race. Again, we'll get to that in other videos. I do want to pause on a sad note before we get into the meat of today's show. We got the very sad news about the passing of Robbie Albarado. This was a rider who's been part of some of the great racing stories of this century. He piloted Mineshaft. He was Curlin's main rider. And then, of course, in 2020, very memorable campaign with Swiss Skydiver. JK, do you remember Breeders' Cup night 2020? We're all masked up in the bar at Jeff Ruby's, but people are still sort of having these conversations from one group to another. And we must have been talking Eclipse Awards, because the next thing I know, Robbie Albarado comes up to us and says, "Hey guys, who do you think should win the Eclipse for the Distaff division?" And you and I, talking to Swiss Skydiver's regular pilot on a day when Monomoy Girl had just won the Distaff and wasn't one of Swiss Skydiver's better races, we knew it was kind of a loaded question. And do you remember what you said back to Robbie?
No, I don't.
It was nothing bad. Don't worry. All you did, you took a deep pause and you said, "Well, since it's you asking the question, I know what I want to say." But in fact, Swiss Skydiver was the right answer to the question, and that is how it played out in the 2020 Eclipse Awards. Robbie Albarado, beloved figure by many, close relationships with the likes of Neil Howard and, of course, Kenny McPeak, who was there at the very end. He galloped the winner for Kenny, I think, 10 days ago. He had a heart issue. Stents were put in. He passed away in the night. He will be sorely missed. Just wanted to pay a little tribute. Oh, one more note on Robbie. 3-time Breeders' Cup winner. I will not bend your brain and ask you to try to name them, but you can probably get one of them pretty easy.
Curlin.
Very good. And then he also won the 2011 Breeders' Cup Mile on Court Vision and the 29 Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf on Tappett's Fly. Our condolences go out to his family and friends. No elegant segue, Jonathan, out of that, but one more thing I want to do before we look forward to the Friday card at Saratoga, the races that will be part of our ITM Horseplayers Tour. Wanted to get your thoughts on the Arlington Million. We both thought Burnham Square would win. He obliged duly. Did he do enough to make you think, hey, this is a serious player for the Breeders' Cup turf?
You know how I am about the Breeders' Cup turf. I mean, we got to have a pretty special one if they bring over the good ones. And they have, at least lately, been bringing over good ones. I think the kind of the trend of them bringing over the third stringers has kind of gone away a little bit. I think they bring along the first and second stringers now. And I think that if they have a good one or a couple of good ones, we're always a little bit battling uphill. But I will say this about Burnham Square. He is running fast numbers. He has been doing it consistently. The fear I have about Burnham Square is, where does he stack up when the big boys show up? But right now, he's the leader in the clubhouse in North America.
I guess one of the things you can really point to is the fact that this was probably a distance short of his best, and in fact, a distance short, of course, of the Breeders' Cup turf. It was a 10-furlong affair. He got a 96 Beyer speed figure, which is down from the 101, 100, and 107s that he'd had in the 3 recent races. But he's a Grade 1 winner, and we'll see him again before we have to make these kind of decisions. The other race I wanted to talk to you about, with potentially some Breeders' Cup Classic implications. We'll see what you think about that. Your boy, Renegade. Let me tell you, this was one of those instances for me where, if you listen to the show, I didn't talk a whole lot about him before. When I saw him in the paddock, just on TV, was like, oh boy, I'm worried I've underrated Renegade. He unleashed a furious rally from seemingly, to my eye, I would have said halfway through the race, he's out of position. Well, I'll tell you what, Brad Ortiz knows a little bit more than me, because he was in perfect position and actually won that race rather cozily in the end. What'd you think of Renegade in the Jim Dandy, and what will be the implications of this race going forward?
It was a rewarding race, I think, from a handicapping standpoint. I think mentally, I wasn't allowing myself to fall for the Chip Honcho thing. So, a lot of times you can be right when you try to be stubborn like that. Be wrong when you try to be stubborn like that. So being right, I take that. I appreciate the times that I am right when I'm fortunate enough to pull that off. The second thing, I think I learned a little bit of a lesson hearing Irad post-race, talking to Jacob West after the race as well, and him reiterating what Irad said in the interview, that the plan that morning when talking to Todd was, I feel like in the Belmont, we rushed him into the race a little bit because there was a paceless situation and wanted him to be a little bit closer. And it seemed as if he almost resented that. So Irad's plan today was, I'm not going to worry about the pace. I'm going to just let him do his thing. I'm going to let him be comfortable. And then when it's time to go, we'll go. And that's exactly what he did. I mean, at the 3/8 pole, he wasn't even panicking. It looked like they were getting away from him. And then he slowly, methodically kept coming and was able to run him down. I still think this 3-year-old group has a lot to prove. And I think that they'll have opportunities to do so, especially after we see what happens with the Classic division this weekend with the Whitney. But it's definitely a good sign to see the good ones running well. And we got to see that on Saturday with Renegade.
It was visually terrific. It came back just a 98 on the Beyer speed figure scale. We'll see. There's still time for these horses to get faster. Let's pivot to Friday at the Spa, Jonathan. The game should be up any minute. By the time this video goes up, hopefully the game will be up on horseplayers.com. I have seen the lineup, and the last 5 from Saratoga will be a part of it. Kicks off with race number 7, which is a starter allowance affair. And I thought that number 1, New York Scrappy, he has just the 1 turf sprint in the PPs, one of the 6 wins. Well drawn, and I imagine Flavien Prat's just going to take the bull by the horns here and go straight to the front. Are you with or against New York Scrappy? Are you stuck on mute?
Yeah, I'm with. It's one of those deals where I think from a contest standpoint, there's 2 horses in here that would work for me. New York Scrappy, which you already talked about, and then the 4, Money Makes Money, switching to Robertino Diodoro, but he's got that turf sprint speed out from California. We know how those turf sprinters in California do when they come east. They can sometimes be a little bit dangerous. It's the thing they do well out there. And I thought Money Makes Money would be the other one that I would consider. Playing multi-race wagers, I'd be fine just having those 2 to get a sequence started. They'd like the pick 5, but in the contest sense, it'd be one of those 2.
1 and 4. For Jonathan, I'll lean a little bit more on the 1 in race number 7. We move to race number 8, $20,000 claimers going a mile on the dirt. JK, we'll keep it with you.
Yeah, multi-race wise, I'd be looking at like 7, 8, 9, 10, wanting to make sure I had all of those. From a contest standpoint, I always feel like, depending how you feel about the rest of the sequence, I always feel like Linda's going to always be a little bit over bet. And she deserves it because she wins a lot, but she hasn't been winning at a high percentage like she normally does so far for this meet. I think I would probably lean on either Mirage or You're Looking Good. So the 8 or the 10 as contest types. I think Fernando Abreu's having a good meet, quietly with a few wins and not a ton of starters. And then You're Looking Good, drawn well outside. Another one who ran a lifetime best last time for Amelia Green, and one that you could probably try to hook up in here. But I thought it was a wide open situation.
8 and 10 on the top line, 7 and 9 is B types. I'll bring one to the party that you did not mention, where I think the key might be the significant class relief, ready to make this one run faster than what we've seen so far. That's number 5, Mike's Magic. I think might be the right type of contest play for me in this spot. I was just envisioning a prominent place early. That may well be the trip you want coming out of the chute here. And I just get the sense that at this level, he's just a little bit better than those last couple running lines, which are not so good, suggest. So maybe one who could be overpriced. I'll take a shot with the 5, Mike's Magic. But I agree with Jonathan. From a multi-race point of view, you can get a few other numbers in on that ticket. It's not a horse that I want to be standing alone with, but just one I think might offer some value, especially in the contest format. We've got a pair of graded stakes on this Friday card. I'll actually, for international viewers, be on Sky Sports Racing on Friday, covering probably on mainly because of these 2 stakes. The first one is the Grade 2 National Museum of Racing Hall of Fame Stakes. We're going a mile on the inner turf. Check out for cross entries. There are a handful of them between this race and the Saratoga Derby on Saturday, so the composition of the field could change around a bit. For me, just looking at numbers, if I wasn't thinking about the pace at all, this was a race where I think you could probably tell stories about 6 of them, maybe more. But sometimes when the numbers are all close like that, I'll just double down on any kind of pace angle I find. And for me, that led me right to the number 1 runner, Touch of Fire, in this spot. Feels to me like the 9 furlongs of the Belmont Derby stretched the stamina a little too much. And from this draw, I thought he might be able to dictate proceedings. It's the 1 for me in race number 9, but I'd like to hear if you decided to get creative, because I think there are some ways you can be creative in here.
Yeah, look, I think the most consistent horse is Touch of Fire. I think his last 3 races, the way that I like to look at these turf races, they all fit. This horse is very consistent. Going to be overbet, though, I think. Depending on your opinion here, this is not a horse I'm letting me beat in pick 5s. I mean, this is the type of horse I would potentially single and use some other horses defensively. But I don't know about the contest, depending on just kind of where my other opinions lie throughout the rest of the sequence. I think the 3 Vassy is one that I would like to get involved with in a contest setting. That race 2 back is arguably one of the best races these horses have run. That race took place early in the 3-year-old year. So there's been some time to kind of grow up a little bit. You draw a line to the American turf, that I didn't think was all that great, but now comes back kind of refreshed, has been working with Imagination, the lady who we'll see in the later race for Brendan Walsh. This one is, to me, is a pretty sneaky type to use as a contest horse, or even the 4 Third Coast for Glen Hill Farm, I thought ran sneaky well in that Belmont Derby, and is one that you could probably look at a little bit as well.
3, 4, and 1, the numbers I will write down on the notes we send around for In the Money Plus. We get a lot of comments and videos. Put the numbers in. It's much harder than you think with production to get that done. But we do have a feature where, if you're an In the Money Plus subscriber, we'll send you digests of the picks of all the shows. You can use that as your written record until I figure out some easier way to produce. Then we'll throw some numbers up there on the screen. Work in progress, though. Race number 10 is the Grade 2 Saratoga Oaks, going a mile and 3/16 for, obviously, these 3-year-old fillies. I had a price in here, JK, I was going to put up for you to consider. Number 4, Bless Her, I thought might be interesting. That last race had the air of a public workout about it. Very, very easy against an overmatched field at a short price. But I really liked that Keeneland race back in April. I thought in that spot, she attended and attacked a fast pace, just went down late to Kentucky Belle, who I thought had the better trip coming from farther back, given the dynamics there. Kentucky Belle was also 7-5. That field has only produced the one winner, and it's actually Bless Her. But there's a lot of figure improvement, even if the run backs haven't necessarily been putting up the best results. I just thought this was a horse that could be overpriced second time off the layoff for Graham Motion, a trainer I really like in these spots. Very obvious other runners here for your horizontals, including Imagination the Lady, including the 6 runner Faithful Departed. But this was the one I wanted to go with in this spot. Who do you like?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with Bless Her. Definitely would be on my tickets multi-race wise. I probably would look elsewhere in the tournament setting. Imagination the Lady probably going to be too short of a price, even though it'll probably be my top pick. I think Just Aloof is a little interesting. I thought the horse was running well, didn't run well last time, but I think had some excuses in that Belmont Oak. So I'll forgive that performance. And I think is, getting this type of price on a Chad Brown runner, I think is always something to take a look at. I'm just kind of against Fitzright. I thought that the Wonder Again was a little bit of a phony performance. I think the real Fitzright showed up in the Belmont Oaks, and I'm going to bet that the Belmont Oaks version of Fitzright shows up, not the Wonder Again version.
Who else should I list just number checking wise for you in here?
Yeah, I mean, my A's would probably be 4, 5, 7, and my B's would be 2, 6, 8.
Okay, so spready, trying to catch a price here in the Belmont Oaks. Both of us trying to go against the aforementioned Kentucky Belle, who could have improved and obviously has my top pick on the form book. But again, I think it's just going to be a shorter price and trying to beat Fitzright as well. We'll see how it plays out in that one as we get to our nightcap. Here we've got a starter allowance going 7 furlongs. It is not the last race of the Horse Players contest because there will be racing from Del Mar, but it's still real important to try to find a winner in this spot. I was struggling with this race, Jonathan, so I'm just going to punt it right to you. Do you have a strong opinion in this race, and where did you land?
Yeah, but I think that, look, I'm going to use 2, 5, 8, and 10. Contest-wise, I wouldn't have a problem hitching my wagon to the 8 Mersal, who ran July 31st. So what? It's going to be like about a week ago. Linda Rice is good with this move. 28% in the last 5 years with horses coming back between 1 and 7 days. And let's see. In the middle of the show, let's see what happens when she does it at Saratoga. Not as good. 1 for 10 at Saratoga.
Interesting.
I don't care. Doesn't bother me. And just the fact that this horse ran really well last time too. So the fact that they're going to run right back in here. I love a horse that the way that horses that run back quickly like that with confidence, they're fit. You know what you're going to get. They're going the right direction. Why not run them? So I'll pick the 8 for like a contest setting, but multis 2, 5, 8, 10.
And those were those other 3 numbers, not your top pick, but the other 3 numbers were the 3 that I wrote down. I guess just looking at prices, I was a little bit thinking Mersal was maybe going to be short enough, but your confidence, I'll probably end up throwing her back in. Like a Rolling Stone, I put on top as one that has some back races, basically. I didn't have anything particularly clever to say, but I was envisioning a good trip. On the best days, has a little bit of finish, and 8-1 on the morning line instead of the shorter numbers on the 5 and the 10, who just both, I have nothing special to say about them. They just look kind of obvious depending on how his race plays out. I think, one of our 4 numbers should get it done there. Contest-wise, I'll try the 2. JK pinning his colors to the mast with the 8. And those are our thoughts on this late pick 5 at Saratoga on Friday. Really appreciate you coming on here, Jonathan. We encourage folks to go to horseplayers.com and play this game. House Cut goes to charity. Breeders Cup Charities, covering a wealth of terrific initiatives in the industry. One of these shows will do a deeper dive, but if you go to the Breeders Cup site and have a look around, you'll see some of the great work they do. That's going to do it for this edition of the show. The show's been a production of In the Money Media. I'm Peter Thomas Fornatale. May you win all your photos.